Have you ever walked into a home that looked perfectly put together, but somehow felt off? Like everything matched, everything was clean, everything was technically correct, and yet it didn't feel like a space you actually wanted to be in. Now here's the real question. What if that feeling isn't random, but predictable? Because recent trends in interior design data, and even behavioral psychology, suggest that people consistently react the same way to certain design choices. Not because they're objectively bad, but because they signal something subtle, a lack of intention. And once your brain picks up on that signal, it quietly changes how the entire space is perceived. So here's something worth thinking about. What if the difference between a home that feels expensive and one that feels forgettable isn't about what you add, but what you avoid? Because when you look closely at professionally designed spaces, there are patterns. Not just in what designers include, but in what they almost never use. And once you start noticing these patterns, it becomes hard to unsee them. Let's start with something that seems like the easiest way to make a room look cohesive, but often does the exact opposite. Matching furniture sets. You've seen them before. The sofa, love seat, and chair all in the same fabric, same color, same design. Sometimes even sold together as a bundle. On paper, it makes sense. Everything matches. Everything coordinates. There's no guesswork. But here's the question most people don't ask. If everything matches perfectly, where does your eye go? Because in well-designed spaces, your eye moves. It finds contrast, variation, points of interest. But when everything is identical, the room becomes visually flat. There's no hierarchy, no focal point. Nothing stands out because everything is trying to say the same thing. And your brain responds to that lack of variation as a lack of depth. In fact, recent home styling studies show that rooms with controlled contrast, different textures, slightly varied tones, mixed materials are consistently rated as more expensive and intentional than rooms where everything matches exactly. So now think about your own space. Is it coordinated, or is it repetitive? Because there's a difference. And that difference is often what separates a room that feels designed from one that feels staged. Now here's something else that seems harmless, sometimes even practical, but quietly signals the same thing. Fake plants that look fake. Not all artificial plants are the problem. Some are nearly indistinguishable from the real thing. But many aren't. The overly glossy leaves, the unnatural color, the stiffness that doesn't quite mimic how real plants grow. And here's what's interesting. Your brain is incredibly good at detecting what's real and what's not, even when you're not consciously paying attention. There's research in visual perception that shows humans can pick up on subtle inconsistencies in organic forms almost instantly. So when something looks almost real but not quite, it creates a kind of visual dissonance. You don't stop and think, that plant is fake. You just feel like something in the room isn't convincing. And that feeling spreads. So here's a question that might change how you see it. If a plant is meant to bring life into a space, what happens when it does the opposite? Because sometimes, removing a low-quality artificial plant does more for a room than adding 5 decorative items. Now let's move to something that a lot of people already have but rarely question. Word art prints. You know the ones. Phrases like live, love, or gather, or home. They're everywhere. Easy to find. Easy to hang. And they seem like a quick way to add personality. But here's the part that's often overlooked. When a space tells you exactly what to feel, it removes the need to feel anything at all. In other words, instead of creating atmosphere, it replaces it with instruction. And psychologically, that reduces emotional engagement. Spaces that feel high-end or memorable don't usually tell you what they are. They let you experience it. They create a mood through texture, light, composition, not through literal messaging. So now ask yourself this. If someone walked into your home and removed every word art piece, would the space lose meaning? Or would it start to feel more open? Because sometimes, what we think is adding personality is actually limiting it. Now here's where things get even more subtle. Lighting fixtures. Not just lighting in general, but specific styles that have become so common. They've started to signal a lack of intention. Think about the standard builder-grade light fixtures you see in many homes across the US. The ones that come pre-installed. Basic shapes. Generic finishes. Designs that don't really say anything. They're not offensive. They're not broken. They're just default. And that's the issue. Because your brain doesn't just respond to what's there. It responds to what feels chosen versus what feels inherited. Recent real estate and renovation data shows that even small lighting upgrades can significantly change how a space is perceived. Not because of brightness, but because of perceived effort. So here's the question. Does your lighting feel like a decision or a leftover? Because that distinction matters more than most people realize. Now let's look at something that often gets overlooked because it feels safe. Wall-to-wall neutral everything. Beige sofa, beige rug, beige walls, maybe a few soft grey accents. It's calm. It's inoffensive. It works. But here's the hidden cost. When everything sits in the same tonal range without contrast, the space loses definition. Edges blur. Shapes become less distinct. And your eye has nowhere to land. There's actually a concept in visual neuroscience called contrast sensitivity. Your brain relies on contrast to interpret depth, form, and importance. Without it, everything feels muted. So while neutral palettes can absolutely feel high-end, they require variation, different textures, subtle shifts in tone, moments of contrast. Otherwise, the room doesn't feel calm. It feels flat. And here's the question that often changes how people approach this. Is your space peaceful, or is it just quiet? Because those are not the same thing. Now here's another one that shows up in more homes than people expect. Oversized or undersized rugs. It seems like a small detail, but it has a huge impact on how a room is perceived. A rug that's too small makes everything feel disconnected, like the furniture is floating instead of anchored. A rug that's too large can overwhelm the space and blur its boundaries. And your brain notices scale immediately. There's research in spatial perception showing that humans are highly sensitive to proportion, especially in enclosed environments. When something is slightly off, it creates a subtle tension that's hard to explain, but easy to feel. So here's something to think about. If your rug disappeared right now, would your space feel more grounded or more chaotic? Because that answer tells you whether it's helping or hurting. And now we get to one that almost everyone has, but very few people see clearly. Overdecorated surfaces. Coffee tables filled with books, trays, candles, objects. Shelves packed edge to edge. Every surface used, every corner filled. Individually, each item might make sense, but together, they create visual noise. And your brain has to process all of it. Studies in environmental psychology show that when the brain is presented with too many visual elements at once, it works harder to organize what it's seeing. That effort shows up as subtle stress. Not overwhelming, but enough to change how the space feels. So here's the question. If everything in your room is visible, what actually stands out? Because when everything competes, nothing wins. And this is where a shift starts to happen. Because you begin to realize that the goal isn't to remove personality. It's to create clarity. And once you start seeing your space through that lens, something interesting happens. You begin to notice patterns you've never questioned before. You start to see how certain choices, ones that seemed completely normal, might be shaping how your home feels, in ways you didn't expect. And there's one more item that ties all of this together in a way most people don't see coming. Because it's not just about objects. It's about something deeper, something that changes how every decision in your space is interpreted. And once you understand that part, everything else becomes easier to fix. Because underneath all of this matching furniture, fake plants, word art, lighting, rugs, clutter, there's a single pattern your brain is responding to over and over again. It's not really about the objects themselves. It's about whether the space feels chosen or assembled. And once you see that distinction, you start to understand why one final category shows up so often in homes that feel unintentionally cheap. Decor that looks like it was bought all at once. Here's what that usually looks like. You go into a store or scroll online, and you find pieces that are already styled together. The same color palette, the same textures, the same aesthetic, all packaged in a way that feels easy. It removes the decision-making. It gives you a shortcut. And at first it works. The space looks done. But here's the question most people don't ask. If everything in your home looks like it came from the same place, at the same time, what story is the space actually telling? Because when a room lacks variation in origin, when everything feels new, coordinated, and simultaneous. It loses a sense of depth. It doesn't feel layered. It doesn't feel lived in. It feels staged. And your brain picks up on that immediately. There's an interesting pattern in how people perceive authenticity in environments. Spaces that combine different time periods, materials, or sources, what designers often call layering, are consistently rated as more personal, more expensive, and more engaging. Not because they're more complex, but because they feel intentional. So now think about your own space. Does it feel like it evolved over time? Or like it appeared all at once? Because that answer quietly shapes how people experience it. And this is where everything we've talked about starts to connect. Matching furniture removes contrast. Fake plants remove authenticity. Word art removes interpretation. Default lighting removes intention. Flat neutral palettes remove depth. Poorly scaled rugs remove balance. Cluttered surfaces remove clarity. And mass-purchase decor removes individuality. Individually, none of these are catastrophic. But together, they create a pattern your brain recognizes almost instantly. A space that hasn't been fully considered. And once that impression forms, it's hard to reverse. But here's the part that matters most. This isn't about perfection. It's not about following strict design rules, or turning your home into something unrecognizable. In fact, some of the most compelling spaces break these rules completely. The difference is, they do it on purpose. That's what designers are really doing differently. They're not avoiding certain things because those things are inherently bad. They're avoiding them because they weaken the clarity of the space. And clarity is what your brain responds to. So instead of asking, is this trendy? Or, is this what designers use? The more useful question becomes something simpler. Does this choice strengthen the feeling of intention in my space? Or weaken it? Because once you start asking that, everything shifts. You might keep the sofa but swap out one matching piece for something with a different texture. You might remove one artificial plant and replace it with nothing at all. You might take down a piece of word art and suddenly notice how much calmer the wall feels. You might clear half a surface and realize the remaining objects look better than they did before. And none of those changes require a renovation. They don't even require a budget. They require awareness. Now here's something to think about as you look around your home. What's one item in your space that you've never questioned? Simply because it's always been there. Because that's usually where the biggest shift begins. Not with something new, but with something familiar that you start seeing differently. And once you make that first adjustment, once you experience how a small change can alter the entire feeling of a room, it becomes easier to keep going. Not in a dramatic all-at-once way, but gradually, intentionally, until your space starts to feel less like something you put together, and more like something that reflects how you actually want to live. So the next time you walk into your home, don't ask, what should I add? Ask something quieter. What here doesn't feel chosen? Because the answer to that question is usually the beginning of everything changing.